What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show recap with Mo, where we're getting ready to get down into another episode breakdown of Caught Up, all right? But before we get into this thing, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit snit that's going down, all right? So the episode we're getting ready to get into is Season 1, Episode number 4, titled Complicated. And it is definitely complicated at this time because we only have 4 episodes on this streaming site, and I'm not sure what it is. I don't believe that it's been canceled per se. I've been trying to find out about it. I honestly believe that it has something to do with this whole strike that's going on right now. And just speaking for myself, I support them. I want them to get what is due. So I'm going to stand 10 toes down for the people who bring us the content that we love and enjoy, right? So go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up on that, right? So anyhow, we're going to go ahead and get into this thing for Miss Jazzy, all right? Fine ass Jazzy. So the synopsis for this episode states that Jazzy finds hope for a fresh start when she meets a new man while working at the club, and Wayne remains in a funk as he navigates feeling torn between Jazzy and Whitney. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this thing. All right, y'all, so we kicked this episode off with Jazzy riding in the car. You see her talking, and I'm like, who in the hell is she talking to? Well, it turns out that she's talking to this gentleman by the name of Gerald. I think his name is Gerald Brooks or something like that. So he actually has a podcast, and she's calling in to talk to him about relationships. So he's listening to her. She's telling him, you know, her whole situation with Wayne and how complicated it is. And he's dealing, you know, she's dealing with this guy who happens to be married and got a baby on the way potentially. Whoa. So Gerald is like, hold on, wait a minute. You sitting up here pretty much wasting my time right now. Like, you knew what it was when you got involved with this married man, and now all of a sudden you want to cry wolf. Well, you knew what it was. You were giving him them draws, and now all of a sudden you don't know what to do, and it's overly complicated. It's not complicated. All Jazzy had to do was to step away from the situation once she found out that Wayne was involved with Whitney. That's all she had to do. But it became more complicated just using her own words because she got involved with this man and kept getting involved with this man, or what they call it, the entanglements. She got involved in this situationship. I'm using all of these terms right now just to describe the shit that she got in. All right. And now it's hard for her to get out of it because now her feelings are wrapped up in all of it. So going on from there, he's like, look, you just need to leave me alone. Leave me up out of this situation. You're wasting my time right now because you ain't trying to change nothing. She's like, look, you don't have to be rude to your listeners or whatnot. He was like, get the hell up off my call. And I was like, damn. I was like, all right, bro. So anyhow, going on from there, we head back over to the club. We see Jazzy getting prepared to go out. We see her girls, Brenda, and I think her name is Christiana. And they're asking questions about her man, who happens to be Brother Wayne. Now, we know that Wayne isn't actually her man per se. He's involved with somebody else. Actually, he ain't involved. He wrapped all the way up with somebody else. But at the same time, he's involved in this situationship with her. So they ask her, where did she meet Wayne? And she was like, oh, I met him in church. Now, her ass is lying. She ain't been to church. I ain't seen her step foot in church since I've been watching this show. Now, the only church she been into is house church with her parents for about 30 seconds. Because as soon as she sat down with the Bible in her hand, next thing you know, Wayne was giving her a call. She got off of that and came up. Maybe she at the church of Wayne. But anyhow, going on from there, they was like, oh, we're going to go ahead and head to church. I told you there's some good men at the church, and there are some good guys and girls at the church. You just got to go over there and find them, right? So anyhow, going on from there, we see the ladies talking it up at the bar, and this guy comes in with his entourage, and she was like, who in the hell is that? And they was like, oh, girl, you don't know who that is. And she was like, no. And then they started rapping, this guy's lyrics or whatnot. And she was like, oh, I love that song. They said, yeah, his name is Little Smoke. I don't know why every damn body got to be little this and little that. Like, I guess I'm Little Mo. Well, that name is already taken. So I just, I just don't know. But anyhow, she goes over there, introduces herself. She's like, hey, is there anything that I can go ahead and get y'all, so y'all can be taken care of? Old boy turns around, Lil Smoke, by the way, and says, hey, go ahead and give me your number. She was like, here he go with this shit. Yeah, see, Jazzy is fine, and she knows that she looks good, that she's fine. And sometimes, when you know that you're fine, and you fine, and you know that you're fine, you get tired of people, pretty much asking you for your number or trying to get close to you because, you're over it at this point. So she was like, no, I was actually asking, like, what could I bring over here for you? And he was like, all right, go ahead and give me a bottle or whatnot. She was like, just one bottle? Now, he's supposed to be a baller and he just getting this little ass bottle. Or whatnot. So she was like, yeah. And then he says, can you place a sparkler on top of it? And she was like, for real? So anyhow, she goes over there, gets the bottle, brings it back. And then Lil Smoke is like, hey, you definitely going to have to take a drink with us. So she was like, look, ain't going to be no drink left. Once all 17 of y'all and these women get involved with this drink, ain't nothing going to be left for this small ass bottle. All right. So anyhow, moving on from there. We see Brother Wayne. Brother Wayne is in his bed at his crib, and he's obviously overslept because now we see his cousin Dooley coming over to wake him up. And he was like, hey, what's going on, bro? We were supposed to be downtown to feed some folks, hand out some food or whatnot. And he was like, what time is it? He was like, it's about 12 p.m. Like, we need you to get on up so we head downtown. But when Dooley gets over there close to him, he was like, man, you ain't taking a bath. You ain't done nothing. Like, what's going on, bro? So anyhow, he was like, look, man, I'm just thinking about some stuff. It's been rough. And, of course, he uses the word it's complicated. So he was like, well, what's so complicated? Talk to your cousin or whatnot. So he was like, look, man, Jazzy is pregnant. So he goes ahead and he tells Dooley, his cousin, that Jazzy is actually pregnant. And he was like, for real? He was like, the girl down there at the club with the bottle? He was like, yeah. He was like, all right, that's easy. He was like, go ahead and tell her to get rid of it. He was like, no, man, it's complicated. Like, I told her and she got crazy with it. Like, she didn't understand what I was telling her. And he was like, okay. He was like, well, she the side chick. Now, listen, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to talk to my women just real quick. See, this is what I'm talking about. This right here, when you get involved with a man that has no intentions for real, when he first meets you, all he's interested in is your body, then you need to look at that for real close, because you end up in these situations where you're the one that's carrying a child that really don't care nothing about you. All he really wanted was your time, and he got it, and you gave it to him willingly. And see, now Jazzy is having to deal with this situation on her own, like Patti LaBelle, right? Like, on my own, I'm having to go through this by myself, because when I told you what was going down, you were like, for real? Like, you can't keep it? Is it mine? All of these things you brought up when she conveyed this information to you, Wayne. So now she's feeling isolated, and now she's having to make a decision on her own. Now, it could have worked out perfectly if you were going into this situation, really wanting to get to know her, but that's not the case in this situation. Y'all got down too soon, and then she had to deal with this whole situation of, am I pregnant? Yes, I may be pregnant, and I don't want to have this baby by myself. So I had to go and take this day out the pill to, do away with what I did the previous night or the night before last. However long that damn pill takes, I'm not even sure. But anyhow, I just think it's unfair on both sides. Definitely for a man who already has a fiance, like, either you're going to stick it out with her or you're going to stick it out with Jazzy. You're really going to have to make a decision, Wayne, what you want to do, because when Dooley asked you the question about what you're going to do you love this woman? And he was like, no. But then he started to think about it, and he was like, well, maybe I do. Doolittle like, hell no, man, you don't fell in love with the bottle. You don't fell in love with the bottle girl. Oh, listen. So anyhow, next we see Jazzy leaving the gym, and while she's leaving the gym, she receives a phone call from an unknown caller, and then the phone says maybe Terrence. So she was like, who in the hell is Terrence? And she was like, I don't know no damn Terrence. So she goes ahead and picks up the phone. It just so happens to be Little Smoke, the guy that she met the previous night, the rapper, right? So anyhow, she was like, oh, so your government name is Terrence. He was like, man, hey, keep that on the low. Like, I don't need you to tell nobody about my name or whatnot. So he pretty much is calling her to see if he can take her out tonight. And she's initially like, I don't know. And he was like, look, I'll come and pick you up. She was like, no, I'll meet you there. So anyhow, they go out to eat about 8 o'clock that night. And I ain't gonna lie to y'all, the conversation is smooth. They seem to be enjoying each other's company or whatnot. And she's obviously, enjoying the conversation as well, because she's looking at him eye to eye. He's looking in her eyes, and they're just enjoying each other's company. And while they are in the midst of conversating, an older woman comes over, and she was like, I'm sorry, Mr. Whatever. I think she called him Mr. Smoke or something like that. And she was like, look, my kids love you. Can we just take a picture? So while he's away taking a picture with the family, Jazzy is thinking inwardly, and you can hear her talking about, I really didn't want to come out tonight, but I'm actually glad that I did, because I'm really enjoying his company. And, that's a hard thing. It's becoming more and more complicated, because she's still in this situationship with Wayne, even though she really isn't. But then she's also starting a situationship over here with our boy Terrence, a.k.a. Little Smoke. So anyhow, going on from there, they head back over to his studio. He's allowing her to hear one of his songs or whatnot. She's trying to bang with it, but she ain't really there, because he was like, oh, no, that's a little bit too hard for me. He was like, a little bit too hard. And she was like, yeah, that's a little bit too hard for me. But anyhow, she conveys to him that, hey, I need to go ahead and get home. It's 1 o'clock in the damn morning. I've been out with you all this time. Like, I've enjoyed myself. And then he says, okay, let me go ahead and get my jacket. Like, I didn't know it was that late. I'll go ahead and walk you to your car. So he's been a gentleman, and I hope that he remains a gentleman, throughout this whole time. I hope it don't get into no shady shit or nothing like that. But for right now, Mr. Smoke is doing a pretty good job, dealing with Jazzy. So anyhow, while he goes away to go get his coat, Jazzy gets up and she starts to receive these text messages from this line ass. Alright, and we later find out that this line ass is Brother Wayne himself. So she done changed his whole contact information in her phone to pretty much dictate what type of dude she believes Wayne is, right? So anyhow, while she's receiving those texts, we later see Wayne standing up trying to hide out in his house when his fiance Whitney comes up on him, surprises his ass. He tries to hold the phone back and try to place it behind his back. So anyhow, she was like, what you doing? I didn't know it was this late. He was like, oh man, I couldn't sleep. So I got up and, started to send out some emails or whatnot. So she was like, okay. So anyhow, she was like, hey, I need you to sit down real quick. I need to talk to you. And he was like, oh hell, like it ain't no good conversation if my girl is telling me to sit down. She was like, no, it's not that bad. So anyhow, when they sit down, Whitney conveys to him that she's pregnant, and she gives him the test. Now, when I tell y'all, his expression, his body language was like hell to the no. I cannot believe this. It was written all it was written all over his face, y'all, because she was like, what the hell is going on with you? This was sweating. He was, she was like, it looked like you done been, like you done been hit by a bus or whatnot. And he was like, no, man, I'm just going through some shit. And she was like, yeah, like, what's good? Like, are you good? Like, tell me what's going on. So then he gives her this lame ass excuse talking about how he just wants to be a great man and be a great parent and all of this stuff. And she was like, oh, baby, you're a great husband. You are a great man. The way you support me and our son, and now we're getting ready to have another baby. Like, you're just awesome. And he's sitting there like, yeah, but he is tweaking right now because he cannot believe it. Like, bro, like Jazzy said earlier, like, if you're going to go out here in these streets, it's best to strap that thing up. And I can't understand ballers out here. And I'm talking about, like, for real. You got people out here with means and things to lose and all this stuff. And they going out here raw dogging. Like, I just don't get that for the life of me. Like, I know better than that. And I don't even get down like that. Like, if I'm going to be out here in these streets, I'm going to go out here and strap it up. Because not only can I get a woman pregnant, but I can also bring something back home to my wife, and y'all just out here willy-nilly just throwing it everywhere. Like, just throwing it everywhere. Like, and I don't even know how else to say it, right? So anyhow, moving on from there, we head to the next day because we see Jazzy in her kitchen making up breakfast or whatnot. And while she's making her breakfast, she receives a phone call from her cousin Toya, who's locked up in solitaire for the past couple of days because she fought this girl over a honey bun or a double honey bun or whatnot that had some jelly in the middle. Now, I'm telling y'all, man, this is, this conversation, these conversations that she has with her cousin are hilarious. Like, you see two sides of her character or her acting abilities, because you see her character Jazzy, and then you also see Toya, who's ratchet, and her cousin, who's locked up, holds nothing back. She says, "What's on top of the dome?" every time. And she was like, what's good with your boy? Like, did he get you anything for your birthday? She was like, no, not really, And she was like, okay, at least he didn't forget you. So she told her what he got her or whatnot. And she was like, oh, did you take that pill? She was like, yeah, I definitely took that pill. And her cousin Toya is like, look, I'm glad that you took that pill because I don't want to have to be competing with my cousin who's pregnant because, they say that pregnant be that bomb and be that fire. And I ain't going to lie, it be just... Let me get up off this internet, man. But anyhow, like I said, she brings a new element of energy to the show, man. So I'm glad that she has this character on there. Initially, I was like, what the hell is this? But as the show has progressed, I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. So once Jazzy gets off the phone with her cousin Toya, she then receives a text message from our boy Terrence, a.k.a. Little Smoke, saying, yo, Jazz, thinking about you. Let's have dinner tonight. All right. So she looks at the phone. She's smiling. She's just thinking about it. And I was like, okay. And I'm starting to wonder where this potentially could go, right? So next we see Wayne at the gym. He's talking to one of his teammates. And Wayne pretty much conveys to him, where he told his cousin Dooley, right, that, the bottle girl at the club is pregnant. And he was like, for real? And he was like, I could tell that you were really feeling her because you talk about her all the time. But he was like, damn, like, you you going out here, and he's complaining about one of his side chicks. We find out that he's been married, for 10 years. And then Wayne is like, has she ever found out about any of your side chicks? And he was like, yeah, occasionally I slip up. And he goes on to say to Wayne, like, hey, your girl needs to know her position. She's a side chick, just like you're a wide receiver, and I'm a defensive back. Like, we all play our own little positions. We play our own roles, and that's life. Like, you need to check your girl, let her know what time it is. She's the side chick, and she needs to stand in her place. And I was like, see, that's what these guys are thinking about this whole situation. Like, side chicks ain't like they used to be back in the day where they stayed on the side and played their parts. No, they coming out in the forefront now like they the missus. All right? So I don't even know why y'all getting involved when you know she ain't going to hang around like that. So anyhow, going on from there, we later see Jazzy and Lil Smoke Mr. Terrence himself having a romantic dinner at his crib, I'm assuming. And we found out that this done cooked. And she was like, damn, like he done cooked. He done threw it all out there. Not only that, this man brings out a gift for her, gives her a bracelet with a heart on it, telling her that, hey, I think about you so very much. Whoop, whoop, whoop. He then gives her the bracelet, wanting her to be able to look down at her wrist and, just think about him every time she sees it. And she got this look on her face like, oh, hell no. Like, this ain't what I need right now because this ain't that I want to hear it from. I want to hear this stuff from Wayne, but unfortunately Wayne is in another type of situation, and she ain't really feeling old boy like this. And see, I thought this potentially could be something, but obviously it's not going to be taken there because she wants Wayne. So anyhow, with all of that being thrown out there, she wants Wayne, but she got Terrence right here, a.k.a. Little Smoke. We still end up with her in bed with Little Smoke. Well, for a little bit of time, because she goes ahead while Little Smoke is going to get dressed or put his coat on and get his keys so he can take her back to the crib. She go ahead and sends old boy Wayne a text talking about calm down because I already done took the pill. You good. You don't have to worry about me. You can live your life happily ever after or whatnot. So anyhow, he looks like he's pissed when he gets in the ride or whatnot. So Jazzy has decided to bring old boy back to her house. And, one thing leads to another. They start kissing, they start caressing. The next thing you know, she's like, hey, do you want to come upstairs? He was like, for real? He even brings God into the situation. Like, I've been praying for situations like this. I've been praying for a woman like you. And she was like, for real? And it was like, yeah, God know my heart. She was like, yeah, that's all that matters, right? But she was like, this man didn't even pray over his dinner. So I know he didn't pray. So anyhow, that was smooth, bro. But she wasn't falling for it. But anyhow, what she did fall for is for that kiss and that caress. Next thing you know, they were upstairs. Now, it is what it is because that's what she wanted. She was horny. I mean, she's no longer pregnant, so I believe. So she's going on in with what she wanted to do from the beginning, right? So while she getting ready to get it in with Terrence, a.k.a. Lil Smoke, they hear a loud-ass knock on the door like the police. And she was like, who in the hell is this? Oh, boy's like, what's going on? Well, it just so happens to be Wayne, right? Wayne is knocking on the door, and she was like, what the hell is going on? So anyhow, that's the end of the episode, y'all. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this recap. As always, please like and subscribe to this channel so y'all don't miss shit that's going down. Also, I don't know what's going on with the show. I'm definitely going to keep y'all updated on what's going on with the Caught Up series. Hopefully they bring it back. I'm not sure what's going on. But with that being said, I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.